Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far, and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be sharing all of the information on the imminent Hourglass Ambient Lighting Edit releases for 2022. So if you are interested in these palettes, you want to know what shades are in them, when we can expect these to be available, and all of the tea, my opinions, my thoughts, then keep watching. So first up, I want to give full credit for this information to Rephr. So Rephr is like the OG incredible British beauty blogger. She's had like a blog, as in like a website, traditional makeup blog for years, many years. She always has all of the detailed information on new releases. She is especially known for her advent calendar information. She always has like every single advent calendar holiday release every year first, all of the information about what's in them. She's just amazing, absolutely love her. So she had all of the info on these palettes first and was very kind to share it with everybody. So I would highly recommend checking out Ree's blog and following her on Instagram if you want to know about these new releases first, because she's just amazing and she deserves a follow. So this year, for the first time ever, as far as I can remember, there are going to be three, not one, not two, but three of these Hourglass Ambient Lighting palettes. Now, in previous years, Hourglass, we've given them a lot of stick for not making these palettes inclusive enough. There was always, historically, there was one palette, and it was always aimed towards like a light medium skin tone. Anyone with a deeper skin tone than that was pretty much shut out, left in the dark. Maybe you could use one of the blushes, but that was going to be about it. None of the ambient lighting powders were going to work for you, and probably not the highlight shade either. So it was very frustrating, and we begged and said, Hourglass, come on, we need a light medium version and a medium deep version. Please give us two palettes for different skin tones. They then gave us two palettes. They started bringing out two palettes, but still both were kind of tailored towards a light medium skin tone. This year we have three palettes. We're getting there. The numbers are going up. But are these palettes actually any more inclusive? Please let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section down below. We now have three. We've got one certainly that I feel is going to be way more versatile as far as the skin tone it's going to work on. This is definitely an improvement. We're getting there. Could it still be better? In my opinion, absolutely, yes, it could. But I do think we're making steps. We're making baby steps forward. But until we see these palettes used on deeper skin tones, it's hard to say exactly how much progress has been made. So I'm excited to see how these actually work on deeper skin tone. But we do know that Hourglass promo pics have basically nothing to do with the actual products themselves. So in order for us to know exactly how inclusive these palettes are, we do need to wait and see them in person. So here's hoping for even more progress than it looks like there is. So not only do we have an extra palette this year, we also have a complete change to the appearance of the packaging. The majority of the previous palettes of this style from Hourglass, as well as a lot of their other products, came in like a standard plain gold or silver, like metallic packaging. We had a little bit of branching out from that in the recent years. We had the ghost packaging, which was that much maligned sort of see-through ghost effect. And then we've also had, I think last year, the marble effect on those palettes. So they're kind of branching out a little, but this is wildly different to anything I've ever seen from the brand before. And I've seen a lot of comments that this had everyone thinking this was a Chantecaille release, because, you know, Chantecaille's brand is known for animals and printing of beautiful animal pictures on their packaging. So this, I can totally see why, especially I think the elephant palette is certainly more in the style of Chantecaille than Hourglass for sure. But each of these designs were created by London-based artist Katie Scott, celebrating each of these amazing animals. And as usual, 5% of the profit from each of these palettes are going to the Non-Human Rights Project, which is an animal charity. These are going to be priced at £78, which is the same price as last year. That has gone up over the years, but I'm pretty sure that's the same price as last year's palettes were. So not an increase this year, which is a bonus. And as far as when we can expect to see and get our hands on these palettes, it's going to be probably a lot sooner than you thought. It's certainly sooner than I thought it was going to be, given that these are a holiday release. beg you. These are going to be available from Hourglass's website first on the 8th of September. Now, I'm not sure if that's the early release date because I've already received an early access email from Hourglass stating that, you know, you can sign up for early access for this year's holiday palettes. So I'm not sure if the 8th is like the date that the early access will be, or whether the 8th will be the kind of standard access and maybe the 7th or even the 6th will be the early access. Typically Hourglass do 24 hours. So possibly these may be available for early access on the 7th. You can now sign up on Hourglass's website for that early access, and these will come to retailers as they typically do, probably a week or two after they've been on Hourglass's site. So let's look at each of these palettes individually so you can decide whether or not you really need any of these, which of these you need, because there are some repeat shades, okay? There's some repeats in here. If you have a lot of these palettes already, listen up. So I'm going to go in order from my least favorite to my favorite of these palettes. So let's start off, I'm so sorry, with the Butterfly palette. This has the most pre-existing or repeat shades within this palette. So that's one of the main reasons why this is my least favorite. Second of all, this is probably the least like cohesive sense-making color story for me, because the powders and the highlights look extremely light. In fact, they are some of Hourglass's lightest shades, but then the blushes look quite rich. So I just feel like altogether, it just doesn't really work that well together. So in this palette, we have two existing ambient lighting powders. So those are the finishing powders, setting powders, however you like to use them. And these are in the shades Ethereal Light, which is a cool translucent, and Diffused Light, which is a warm pale yellow, both very light shades of that ambient lighting powder. There is then one existing shade of the strobe lighting powder in Incandescent Light, which is described as an opalescent pearl. And then you have the two brand new shades of blush in this palette, which are Soft Flush, which is that deep mauve, and Sunset Glow, which is a terracotta. And then there is also a new shade of metallic strobe lighting powder in here, Celestial Strobe Golden Light, which is described as a golden champagne. So here's the thing about this palette, it's beautiful, it looks very, very nice. I do feel like this is more catering to that light medium skin tone, fair skin tones, because you have those super light ambient lighting powders. The blushes, like I said, there seems a bit of a mismatch in here because the blushes look quite vibrant, but again, these are Hourglass promo pics. I'm not really sure whether these are going to look exactly the same in person and in reality. But yeah, this is the least inclusive, it's the least exciting. It has, you know, 3 out of the 6 shades in here, half the palette that is existing shades that you may already have, or you certainly have in previous editions of these palettes. So yeah, for me, this is an easy pass. If you're going to be buying this, I feel like you're really going to be buying it for those blushes, because everything else has already been out or is very similar to other colours that we've had in these palettes before. So this for me, unless this is going to be your first of these palettes from Hourglass, is a pretty easy pass, because the only new thing is the blushes, and they aren't that unique. They do look quite similar to previous shades that we've had in these palettes, particularly last year's Universe Unlocked, but I would also say the Sculpture palette as well has shades very similar to this. So I just don't think this is really offering us that much that we haven't already seen, that we don't already own from the brand. Next up, my second favourite of these palettes is the Elephant palette, and this has 4 brand new shades, so you're getting an extra new shade in here, but there are still 2 pre-existing shades. This is a very nice, I think if you don't own one of these palettes, or you have never purchased anything from Hourglass, this is probably the best pick for you, because it's the only one of these palettes that contains a bronzer. So you've got everything for a full face from Hourglass in here, and these shades are just a really nice representation of the brand. But again, probably only if you're like a fair to around a medium skin tone. So again, they have 2 shades of ambient lighting powder, both pre-existing permanent shades, and those are Dim Light, which is a neutral beige, and Soft Light, which is a pale peach. Both, we've seen these shades before, nothing exciting or interesting there, and I don't know why they feel the need to keep putting 2 of these powders in there. I think one would be great. we'd like another blush, please. All of the other shades in this palette are brand new for this collection. So we have a new Ambient Metallic Strobe Lighting Powder in Beaming Strobe Light, which is a golden highlight. Then we have a new shade of Ambient Bronzing Powder, which is Lustrous Bronze Light. And then we have two new shades of the Ambient Lighting Blush in the shades Iridescent Coral and Radiant Rose, which are both pretty self-explanatory when it comes to the colours. I think this is a lovely all-around palette. If you have several of these palettes from previous collections, you've definitely got something very similar to everything that's in here. As I said, there are two pre-existing ambient lighting powders that nobody really needs anymore. But you do have 4 brand new shades, which is nice. And as I said, if you haven't purchased one of these palettes before, this is going to be your first one. This is going to be your first purchase from Hourglass. This is a great range of products to try from the brand. You get to try their powders, you get to try their bronzer, their highlight, and 2 of their blushes. So I think this would be a great choice if you have a fair to medium skin tone and you would just want to try as many different formulas as possible. This looks very, very pretty. For my personal collection, this would be an easy pass because I have the ambient lighting powders. The bronzer will most likely be too light for me, and I already own, you know, many bronzers throughout the years in these palettes. This one doesn't seem to be, you know, anything especially different or special. And again, these shades of blushes are something that I have a lot of from the brand. And now we move on to my absolute favorite, and the one that I feel like is the pick of this collection, and certainly the most cohesive, the most inclusive, the one that offers us the most diversity and range to use this palette, and this is the Tiger palette. There are many reasons why this is my favorite and why I think this is the pick of the bunch. First up, the tiger packaging. I love tigers. I think this is gorgeous. Very, very cute with the pictures of the tiger on there. I just love the blue, everything about it. Second of all, this has the most new shades of the collection. 5 brand new shades and only 1 previously existing shade. I also think this gives us the most diversity on who could use this and how you use it. And this only has 1 ambient lighting powder. The rest is highlight and blush, which I love. So the 1 previously existing shade in here is that ambient lighting powder in Transcendent Light. And this is one of Hourglass's new deeper range of powders. So Hourglass did recently extend their shade range of their ambient lighting powders to include, I think, 2 deeper shades, and this is the deepest of those shades. So for me, this is going to be obviously far too deep for me to use as a finishing or a setting powder, but I do wonder if I could use this as a bronzer. So I do like that this is kind of giving us some versatility. If you have a deeper skin tone, that will be a finishing or setting powder on you. If you have a lighter skin tone, hopefully we can use that as a bronzer. You could also use that on the eyes. It's giving us just a bit of versatility for our money with that powder. And then every other shade in here is brand new. So we have the Ambient Metallic Strobe Lighting Powder in Brilliant Glow Strobe Light, which is a translucent peach. So again, in theory, it should be great for multiple skin tones. We then have 2 new ambient lighting blushes in Burnished Glow, which is a warm coral, and Iridescent Rose, which is a warm medium rose. And then there are 2 new shades of the Ambient Metallic Strobe Lighting Powder in Divine Strobe Light, which is a true gold, and Copper Flash, which is described as a copper. Now, I actually, when I saw the picture of this, I thought this was a blush. And again, it's that potential, hopefully, if the pictures are actually reflective of the product and the description, that this is again going to be a highlight for someone with deeper skin tone, but with lighter skin tone could be more of a blush. So this is going to give you hopefully much more versatility to use on different skin tones if you're a makeup artist, or just that ability to use it in different ways depending on what your skin tone is, and a bit of that inclusivity so that someone with a deeper skin tone uses the powder as a powder, the highlights will work on multiple skin tone, and the blushes can be built up because Hourglass blushes are actually very buildable and these look fairly rich. So for me, I love the colour story of this and the packaging. I love that we're getting 5 brand new shades, and there's also just that versatility of use of these powders and the colours on the skin. I think this for me is definitely the standout of the three and the one that I'm most excited about. So please let me know what you think of these palettes. Are you interested in them? Would you like to see me review these or not? I took a break from this launch last year. This year I'm really happy to see we've now got 3 palettes, and it certainly looks like we've got a lot more versatility and inclusivity here. This definitely appears to be a step in the right direction. We now have 3 palettes. There still isn't one that kind of stands out as a super rich, deep with everything in it, and a bronzer for deeper skin tone. They still haven't managed to produce bronzers for people with deeper skin tones, so we're still missing some things. Okay, this is not perfect. We're still lacking what everyone has been asking for years. Maybe next year there'll be 4, okay, and we still won't have a deeper one. Who can say? But I do have hope that the Tiger palette at least is giving us something that is going to actually work and be workable and usable for someone with a deeper skin tone than like a medium, light medium. But I guess the proof will be in the pudding, and I can't wait to see how these actually perform on lots of different skin tones once the reviews start coming out. So please let me know if you'd like me to review these, how you feel about them. I plan to pick up the Tiger variety for myself. I'm definitely willing to try a couple out for review purposes to help you guys see how they work on my skin tone and help you decide what you would like to pick up for yourself. If anything, are you still interested even in these palettes? If you had enough, you've got all of them that you could possibly ever need and you just have no interest in them, please let me know how you feel about this release in the comment section down below. I hope you found this video helpful, and I'd love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.